Hey, America. I'm going to touch on the headlines today. I'm probably not going to be here real long. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like absolute crud. I mean, I'm sick as a dog, uh, but for cause, and it's for the greater good. Had my second shingles shot yesterday. Hurt yesterday. Today, oh yeah, all the symptoms. I've got a fever, and I feel like crap. My head hurts. Body aches everywhere, but I'll get over it. And I probably won't develop shingles, and that's a good thing. So, I feel like crap today, but I still want to talk about some of these things. What I want to talk about the most is a thing that for me is just, I don't know, it's just creeping more and more into my consciousness. And it is, now, you need to remember a thing. Up until George Sr., the few elections that I had voted in before that, I was a staunch Republican. This was in the day when voting machines were not this little touchscreen. Voting machines were this big, huge block of a thing, and right down to you could pull a single party lever. Vote the whole ticket with one pull. I think doing away with that was a good idea. Kind of made people think that, wait a minute, I'm voting for a candidate, I'm not voting for a party. And that's my whole point today. Where my consciousness is about this, it makes me consider why my Republican friends are still considering voting for the orange shit stain. Because he doesn't represent you. A good example of what he does represent. I forgot. Kid next door comes home at 4 o'clock on the bus. Cars stop out front. Got a great alarm system. I really do. All right, guys. Thank you. That's okay. But anyway, voting for him is voting for a continuation of the division, the duplicity, the lies, the criminality. And we could go down the whole list of what he has come to represent. And just as an example of the division, not just the division in the nation, the division within the party itself. My reason for thinking about that so much today was one of those hell freezes over moments happened. I couldn't stand the guy. I still can't. I thought he was a terrible, terrible vice president, and thought that George W. was a terrible president. I didn't like them at all. I didn't like what they were doing to the nation. I especially didn't like Dick Cheney's influence. But Dick Cheney is voting for Kamala Harris, his daughter. I'm too conservative for my own ideals, too much a party loyalist, and that's how I saw her father as well, is voting for Kamala Harris. And if you go down the list of his cabinet members, more than half of them are not going to vote for Donald Trump. And many of them have endorsed Kamala Harris. That should tell you something. And that's where I am with the why would you support him. These are the upper echelon of the real Republican Party. The party of conservative values, the party of big money, of big business, of small government. These people at the higher ends of that are saying, wait a minute, this guy is dangerous. That's a pretty big statement. I look at that, and I look at the division, and again, that's in the mainstream Republican Party at the upper level. But I've mentioned it here before. It isn't just there. It's locally as well. We have, and I'll give you the backstory of it. We have essentially two Republican parties in Van Buren County. We have the Republican Party of Van Buren County that is recognized by the state as the Republican Party for Van Buren County, with their bylaws and the way that they have to do things to keep the state people happy and everything else, but they're in good standing with the state. Well, then we have the MAGA faithful. The MAGA faithful decided that they wanted a very strong Trump-supporting person as the head of the Republican Party here. Unfortunately, one of the requirements, and this is a requirement for our side too, I could not be the secretary of the Democratic Party up here were I not a resident of Van Buren County. Well, it's the same thing for the Republicans. This person was not a resident of Van Buren County. Their reasoning was, well, she owns land up here. Yeah, but it's not her residence. This is not where she lives. That's the rules. And that's what I'm getting to. We now have two Republican parties. One of them has, they have their own little embroidered patches that have their name on it. They refer to themselves as the deplorables. Oh, well. No, you're not a cult. You're not a cult. But, and then on their patches it says the Republican rejects. But then they refer to anyone that isn't one of theirs as rhinos. They talk to, when I refer to them as the real Republican Party, they say that these other people are rhinos. The name calling, the pettiness. Sound familiar? Sounds like a cult to me. But that's the simple fact here. That's how divisive the man is. That's how much of a problem the man is. And so I don't understand why anyone that is a mainstream Republican would still support him. I do understand why many of them do not like Kamala Harris. I get it. There are things in her background that I'm not 100% pleased with. I think I understand why she made the decisions she made, and I wasn't in that place, so I can't really second guess them all that much. However, those issues, those things that people have against her are not completely and totally illegitimate. I don't agree with them, and I think that their thinking on that is skewed. But I wonder how much of it is skewed just because of the orange shit stain. And, well, we can't vote for her. That's not the Republican candidate. This is the one where you're going to have to put party aside, folks. You've got to vote what's better for the nation. And I strongly feel that Kamala Harris is. I see what her policy and platforms are. I've heard how she feels that she can make this happen. And she can, if we give her the House and the Senate as well. And we can rectify a lot of things. We're probably going to lose again in 2 years as far as Congress. But Lord, what we can do in those 2 years if we really, really win this one. And that's what this one is all about. Is it can't just be we got 200 and whatever the number is. That's the fever talking. Whatever a number is the electoral college win. Somebody put it up there. I think it's 270. So we can't just win by 271. We've got to win by 300, 320, 340. It's got to be a landslide. But I look at now, And what I'm seeing within their party would have been virtually unthinkable back just 10 years ago. Would have been completely unthinkable. Yeah, 270. Thanks, Tone. But the real question is, why would you vote for him if he's that divisive? If even here, if he shredded your party, why would you vote for him? But going beyond that, one of the big ones that not long after this whole thing was being put together in my head, Christ, you know, I mean, it's one thing to have Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney and other mainstream mainstream Republicans, conservative mainstream Republicans, come out against him and for Kamala Harris. But there's one that he probably won't come out for Kamala Harris because he's a fucking asshole. But Nick Fuentes is pissed off at the orange shit stain. Nick Fuentes, think about who that guy is. Think about what he did. And he went on a tirade, a rant about how if the steal wasn't real, why did 1,600 of us end up in jail for you? Why did I lose my livelihood? Why did I lose my ability to board a plane? Why did I lose my ability to have bank accounts? If you lied to us. Well, folks, that's the point. He does lie to you all the time, constantly. And it's not just some little, story he made up to self-aggrandize him. It's not. These are real, easily traced, factual lies. You can see this is a lie. He just admitted that he knew he lost the election. He just admitted it. So yeah, some of his people are pissed off, but now, why would you vote for him? Nick Fuentes, I'm sure he's still going to vote for him. He's going to go back. I had seen a thing from T. Brown, a guy that she posted, who talked about this being like a toxic relationship. For those of you that have been in one, you keep going back, you keep going back, you keep going back until somebody ends up really fucked up from it, and then you maybe eventually, if you get your head out of your ass, you finally walk away. Nick Fuentes, jury's still out on that, and I really don't care. He's a racist piece of shit. So his actual opinion doesn't matter to me, but his questions are pertinent. You lied to us. Why should we follow you? Well, that's my question to the Republicans, especially the real ones, especially the mainstream ones, especially, if you are a conservative, he's not. That's not conservative values. You take a good look at him. He's not. He doesn't represent you. So there's that. That's another one to look at. But finally, as far as the lies and everything else, to all of them that talk about their patriotic background, that talk about how, I was former military and everything else, and he was good for the military, and that's why I respect him, and blah, blah. No, he wasn't. He hates the military. How many ways do you have to see that? If the Arlington National Cemetery thing doesn't convince you, you can't be convinced, which also tells me, wait a minute, if you're supporting him, you are nothing but a cult member. You're in a toxic relationship, walk the fuck away. Another piece of proof in that. We just had last, and how the sensationalism of some of the media. I'm not going to say mainstream media is the enemy of the people, but I am going to say they could do a hell of a lot better job lately than what they're doing. We just had a huge thing happen. Monstrous thing. A bunch of social media influencers have been arrested because they were being paid to distribute Russian propaganda. It's the facts are there, the evidence is there. They were being paid big money to spread Russian propaganda. And then we can take that one more step further. What did Putin come out and say just the other day? That he'd like to see Kamala Harris win. That's who he thinks would be the better candidate. Well, that's just echoing Donald Trump. That's just using reverse psychology. But the cult gloms onto that. Oh, see, Putin wants her. Putin wants it. You believe that? You really believe that? So fucking thinly veiled? No, guys, it's reverse psychology. He doesn't want her to win. He's always been a huge Trump fan because Trump has always sucked his dick. So where are you coming from in this if you're still supporting him? How can you call yourself a patriot? How can you call yourself really thinking of the betterment of the nation? Now, I understand you may not like Kamala Harris for this, that, the next thing. All too often it boils down to misogyny and racism, but okay, cover that with whatever other reasons you might come up with. If you are actually going to vote for the orange shit stain over her, because those are the things that he best represents. So, the question once again becomes, why would you vote for him? It's not in your own self-interest. It's not in the interest of the nation. If you don't understand, we have a need to get back to a level of normalcy. Even if you think that, oh, well, that's just the deep state. Well, no, that's just more propaganda you've been fed. That's just more of the lies and the bullshit you've been fed. Is there corruption and things like that there? There sure as hell is. That doesn't mean the system doesn't work. And it doesn't mean you should tear it apart or should tear your party apart for it. Don't. Get rid of that orange shit stain. Let the country normalize a little bit. Let some better policies get put into place. Take a moment and just look at the possibilities. Look at the things you think you're supporting because you believe this, and this. I'm supporting my Second Amendment right. Well, yes, you are, but you're also supporting a need or a craziness that is in this country about guns, and those guns are being used all too often to kill our children. I can't tell you 100% that and the whole thing, if we outlaw guns, then it'll only be the criminals to have the guns. It's bullshit, people. It's bullshit. We have things that we can do to make the country better. Tax and spend. It doesn't work. Damn it, we need money in our pockets. You'll get money in your pockets. And yeah, taxing does work when you have enough of a tax base. We do with the filthy rich people in this country. If you're making a couple of $100,000 a year, if you've got a nice place that is going to be subject to capital gains tax, well, that is an income. So we need to get back to a tax base that actually works. These are the things that will help this nation. This is the stuff that will normalize this situation. Just having a bunch of hatred won't. Just causing a bunch of division won't. Just breaking every fucking law you can break as long as you get ahead has never been an ideal for democracy, nor has it been an ideal for capitalism. It's been used a lot, but it's being used by the guy that all too many of the still mainstream Republicans are supporting. Turn away. Get out of that toxic relationship. Let's normalize things a little bit. All right, America, I feel like shit. But aside from the way I feel, share this shit.